K103 aims to bring Kahnawake an informative, community-oriented, and diverse talk show. To ensure a variety of voices and opinions, K103 reserves the right to screen calls. Our guests' opinions are not necessarily endorsed by or reflect those of K103 or its management. And now, the Partyline Talk Show on K103.7 FM, Kahnawake. Kahnawake, you're tuned into the K103.7 FM Partyline Talk Show for Tuesday, September 1st, 2015. So excited to have you here for the first day of September. Remember, if you're out there listening to the Partyline Talk Show and you want to be a guest, give us a call here at K103. The number is 450-638-1313, and you leave a message for Lori Jacobs. She'll get back to you and she'll let you know everything you need to know about being a guest on K103's Partyline Talk Show. I'm your guest host, Jessica Erstreich. I'm sitting in for Lori. Our guest in studio today for the whole hour is going to be Mr. Chuck Halliday. And Chuck is the development officer from the New Frontier School Board. And Chuck, you're here to just, get people ready for, letting them know what their options are if they're interested in entering any of the programs at New Frontiers.
Well, that's part of what I'd like to do and sensitize the community, because we have a lot of members from Kahnawake who attend our centers, first of all. So this is one of our important communities that we reach out to. And we're really trying to make sure that people realize there's a lot of different educational options in the area, in Kahnawake, in Chateauguay, in Montreal, in different areas. And we want to make sure they know of all the opportunities that are out there, especially for those who speak English. And really, we'd also like to make sure that people understand that CEGEP and university are important schooling, and we need that, but also there's such a lack of skilled laborers right now and moving forward in the future that we're trying to reach out to the community to make sure that they know that there's opportunities where if you'd like employment, you take a program for sometimes 8 to 12 months and you can have a job almost immediately.
That's really great. I like that, like you're saying, you want people to know what their options are when it comes to post-secondary education, because I think for a lot of students, initially, everybody thinks it's CEGEP. You have to go into an academic program, but it's not for everybody.
No, and I think there's people are starting to realize that more and more. The ultimate goal is, my parents always told me to find something you love, and that means you'll never work a day of your life if you can do something that you love. And I think realizing that, CEGEP and university, there's some great programs there, and I went that route, and that worked out for me. But if I were to look at my brother, it wasn't exactly the setting that he enjoyed the most, and he became a carpenter. If you're talking about just the income that we make, I don't mind saying it on air, he makes more money than I do right now, and he has a vocational degree, but he found what he loved. So in realizing that there's a first choice for everyone, and it doesn't mean that vocational training or what we call trades are the second choice. This should be on par. It's just to find what's the good fit for you, and there's so many different options.
Right, because some of us are, we can sit down and, sit through lectures and learn that way, but others, there's a lot of people out there. You want to do something with your hands. You want to do something practical. You want to stand up and walk around while you're learning and learn something that's going to be, take you through the rest of your life, not 10 years later.
For sure.
Right?
And we talk to our students every day and find out, the best way to find out if things are working is to talk to the students. And we talk to them all the time, and some of them saying, I can't sit for 8 hours in an office. Like I've heard so many students just yesterday. I met a young lady named Brittany McCumber who's from here, and she took our horticulture program out in Huntington. And she told me one of the first reasons she tried secretarial, she tried that route and it didn't work for her. But then when she was able to go work in a greenhouse and outside all day. She loves it, you know, and now she's working towards furthering her career that route. It's just to find the right mix of everything, and there's so many different options. You just got to try, and that's the most important thing.
And what a great example when it comes to options, because, I mean, how often do we think, or do we tell our high school students, why don't you go into a horticulture program? You know,
well, even when you say it, what is horticulture? I'm like, I didn't even know until I was in it, but it's, you know, the study of plants and green, and like there's a green wave happening. There's more and more young people who are trying to find different ways for energy and to grow crops and stuff like that. We need to have skilled people in that industry, and there's a lot of emerging industries. What people don't realize sometimes is the jobs that are in place right now, in 10 years, there's a whole new whack of jobs that are created depending on the market and depending on what society needs. So I couldn't even tell you all the great jobs you can do, because in 10 years, there's jobs we don't even know exist, but we'll need the people who have that skill set.
And, you know, there's still a lot of giving back to do when you're in a trade. I mean, for example, with your horticulture program, I think
they went to Cattery.
Yes.
Yeah, they went to Cattery Hospital here, and they greenified some of the areas.
Oh boy, did they ever.
Did they ever? Oh, that's good, though. That's good. But that's one of those things that when you're doing a trade, people, you can see the service almost immediately. And what we're trying to do is match that with, instead of just doing something in class or in the greenhouse that you don't see and it just stays in your classroom, why not do something for the community? The hospital wanted a little bit more of a green feel, so we were more than happy when we made a partnership to come and answer to the client's needs and make it a better setting for the patients that are there. And it's the type of things we're trying to do all the time.
Okay, great. It's such a good, I guess, a good example of what you can accomplish at New Frontier School Boards, and maybe what your objectives are at the school board. What kind of opportunities, what do you want your students to come away with? You know.
Well, I guess if I could put it into context, well, we just did a magazine, and the magazine is called I Choose Me. And so, okay, well, what does that mean? We really want to make an environment where the student chooses themselves first, not in a selfish way, but chooses the options that fit them best. So in theory, it's not that we want something from the students. We want the students, when they're finished, to find a way where they've found a vocation or a passion that they can, you know, make a living out of, and, you know, support their family or prolong their educational career. And I mean, it's not just young students. We have a lot of more mature students coming back who want to reinvent themselves too after a few years. So we're trying to give opportunities, basically to say, here are some options that if you go this route, maybe you'll get a better job, maybe you'll get a job, maybe you'll just find something that you really enjoy. There's a lot of different reasons. So we're looking to say, there's opportunities out there right in our neighborhood that's literally 5 minutes away at the Nova Center in Chattagee. We have another center in Ormstown, and we have another one in Huntington. So some of them are a little bit further, and some programs are more catered to different areas, but anyone can go to any one of them. And it's just to say, here's an opportunity. And it's less than a year, a lot of these programs. A lot of them are 12 months, 18 months, or even 9 months. When you go to CJEP and university, sometimes you're talking about, you know, we're talking 5 years down the line once you've done 2 years of CJEP and 3 years of university.
And then you still need to get a master's degree.
And almost right away, you got to get a master's. And that doesn't guarantee you're going to get the job that you want.
No.
But sometimes we're learning that the attention span of, they say, the young people is less and less and less, and they want results more immediate. So we're trying to find ways to say, here, you can do it in a short amount of time and get the results that you're looking for. So if they can find success, that's really what we're hoping to aim for.
And, you know, comparing it to an academic program again, I don't know what the situation is here really in Quebec, but I was watching this great, just short documentary, but they were talking about academic planning and, you know, having enough human resources for different countries. And they were talking about Ontario, where there are a ton of unemployed teachers in Ontario.
For sure. Yep.
You know, but the universities just keep taking them in.
Well, at a certain point, and I have nothing against universities. I think it's a great option. But at a certain point, there's a common sense to all these things. If you're just taking way too many students in program XYZ, which if you say it's education in Ontario, and there's not enough jobs to fill them, it doesn't really make much sense. You know, so, and there's a lot of programs that people like to take. It's something they want to do. But if the end goal is to get a job there, and you realize that your chances now become 10% to get employment once you finished it, maybe you might want to look at other options just to be sure. Not to say you don't want to go that route, but there's a common sense saying there's too many people for those type of jobs. And if we were to say about welding, we have a welding program literally we have to try to convince the students sometimes to finish their DEP, which is a Diplôme Éducation Professionnelle. We want them to, because the employers are saying, we'll give you a job right away if you can start tomorrow. But we're like, get your cards.
That's really tempting, right?
And it is, because you can get paid right away. And we're talking about a good salary, which is more than $20 to $30 an hour. We're not talking about measly salaries here. And we're saying, listen, guys, or girls, because we also have women in our programs, and that's a thing that we're trying to promote too. Any trade can be for any gender. There is no gender-specific trades. There's some that have more men and there's some that have more women, but they're looking for either gender in each one of them. And we're saying, if you stay and you get your cards, you're going to get tons of jobs, and then you'll have more options because you'll have the paperwork that's required to move over.
And I think you're making a good point here also with income, because my other job besides this is I'm an occupational therapist.
Okay.
All right. But I used to work with people who, they got hurt on work. So at work, it was usually people in trades. They're on CSST. And, most of them were getting paid more than I was.
I'm sure. I have no doubt. And it's one of those things, if you're not trained properly, and I mean, there's a lot of people that do things, I don't want to say on the black market, but they're going on the side, and I understand that in the trades world, but sometimes, you got to find a way to get the income in a mechanisms where you can get your health care or you can get the other insurances that you want to get.
And you also have protection from a union,
That's
which,
right.
I have 2 university degrees, no help whatsoever from a union ever. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Sure.
And even with, a professional degree, it's really hard to find a full-time job.
I have no doubt.
It really is.
If you're looking in other places, youth unemployment is augmenting all over the place. I mean, we can look at Europe and say it's almost 50% in some countries, and it's not as bad here, but just imagine if there's not enough jobs and the skill set is not in place for the young people to even get into the job industry, they're starting later and later and later. So if they're finding that good job in their mid-20s or 30s, they have to start a family. The income that they should have got in the historical way, they're not earning it at a younger age, so it makes it more difficult for the lifestyle that they want to have. So we're very proud of the job placement that we help. Sometimes we do stages. Like for a perfect example, in our healthcare industry, they do an international stage. They go to the Dominican Republic, some of the students, to help, and you'd be like, well, is that a vacation? They go literally to hospitals in the Dominican Republic or small villages in the mountains to train the nurses and to train the community how to do better medical techniques. So that's like, if I were to tell you, you can go to school, do it in like 18 months, and maybe for 2 weeks you're going to be in the Dominican Republic helping out some people. There's a lot of people saying this is a great opportunity, and that's just one example of the different type of things that can happen with their programs.
And also the different kinds of learning, because now you're in this whole other environment where, it's not just about what you learned in the book, but how innovative can you be? How well do you think on your feet? Which is another thing, what attracts people to trades rather than academics. Because let's be honest, in academics, they're like, no, you do everything by the book, the way we told them, and the way we have, the methodology set up. Trades, I mean, you get to, You
get to do your hands-on. Like, you literally get to do, and I don't want to dismiss the fact there is theory. I mean, you can't just walk into something and say, I'm going to be a carpenter. You need to learn the math that goes with it. You need to learn the geometry and the things that work.
Measure twice, cut once.
That's right.
Yeah.
Measure twice, cut once. You could be a carpenter tomorrow. That's the first lesson. But once you've done that, then you're almost lined up to say, okay, now I've perfected the knowledge that I need to now perfect the craft. And the higher and higher you go, the better opportunities happen for people. It's one of those things that we've learned. We've tried to go with a campaign like I Choose Us, and we tell the students stories. What I learned when I was, my degree's in communication. So in essence, I know what you're saying a little bit. It's not easy to find a job sometimes. But what I've learned,
can't all be Paul Grafe.
That's right. Yeah. And they can't all be Paul Grafe. And I was very fortunate enough to know him in a past life, and he's still the same guy. Great guy. So I know he's listening, but that's fine. One of the best things that you can see is that the students have an opportunity to move forward, and we want to tell their stories. The best way to resonate with young people now is not to give them an ad saying, choose our school, it's the best school, come to see us. It's tell the stories of people who are having success. So if we do a success story of, say, for example, in the magazine that we have, and anyone that wants it, we have them at our center at Nova, they're more than welcome to take it. It's kind of like a keepsake, but say for Obsession Bakery is a bakery that's in Chateauguay, and the lady took the starting a business program. She had done a previous life, done a lot of other things. Then she took this program to start her own business. We want to showcase those type of things because the best ways to prove that the programs work or success happens is showing a concrete example of someone in your community. And if you say, well, I know that person and I didn't know they became this by doing this program beforehand, you're kind of thinking, well, I could do the same thing, maybe with a different idea.
And, entrepreneurialism is a great 100%. Thing to bring up. For a lot of people, we always think, okay, I'm going to be an employee, but, having your own business, what a great option as well.
Well, there's so many students that I want to be my own boss. I don't want to say they don't want to work for someone else.
It's hard.
But it's hard to work for other people sometimes. Right. And when you get a bad boss, let's be honest, sometimes you can't do anything about it. This is who you're going to be dealt with. A lot of them have that entrepreneurial spirit to say, I have an idea. And things are changing so quickly with technology and different type of ideas. There's emerging businesses happening all the time. Somebody has to take that place to make it work. So we entice the students to try and go that route. And when we say we're there to help them with the program, we have counselors who are there the whole time. So if it's one of those things that I'm having trouble at home, like they can help in that respect. If they're having trouble deciding even what program to take, you don't have to be one of our students. We're more than happy to say, come into our center, make an appointment, and they'll talk to you through maybe the different options to find the right match.
I think one of the benefits I've heard also of, going into a vocational program or going into something, a program offered by the New Frontier School Board is, you've mentioned the counseling, but you also mentioned lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're dealing with older clientele or, maybe fresh out of high school, what are some of the lifestyle adaptations that that your programs are able to make for the adult learner?
I can say the first thing when you come into our centers, and we pride this, is you're going to be treated like an adult. So one, that's a good thing, but you got to act like an adult. So yes, we'll have people coming out of high school, and we'll have people who are in their mid-20s and late 19 and teens and stuff like that. But what we've noticed is that some of the students have had a hard time in the high school setting before. They just felt that they were ready to move forward, but didn't want to be treated like a kid. So we'll say, if you want to be treated like an adult, we'll make sure you get the best quality education that you're looking for. We'll make sure you get a timely manner. We'll be there to help you anytime you want, but we're not going to babysit you all the time. If you don't want to be in class, that's your choice, but then you might fall behind and you just might not pass. So we're trying to really say, this is a choice you want to make, you want to move forward, so we'll treat you like one. And then we'll have a lot of extracurricular activities too. Seasonally, we'll have all kinds of parties and stuff like that, and they do like giant foosball games, and sometimes they'll go on it sounds funny, but they go on field trips. In auto mechanics, they go to the auto show. They'll go places to see the real life kind of thing that matches the program that you're doing. So we're really working hard to make this the most complete experience, not that you sit there in the classroom and go, okay, what am I doing today? We want to make sure every day you get full value for the money that you're spending, and that's another little component. The money that you're spending is very minimal. We're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking sometimes maybe even $100 for the registration fees, and that could be the entirety. Sometimes it might be around $300 depending on if you need certain books. But if you're thinking about like 12 years and you're spending $250 for the entirety of the course, you can't get a better bang for your buck for an educational situation.
Right. You sort of brought up a bit about, school life and campus life.
Yeah.
For some people, they may be attracted to academics because we have this image of, the university life in our heads, right? It's probably not always accurate.
I can't say it's like a giant campus. I don't want to fool anyone to think, you're at Loyola campus or McGill's campus and there's thousands upon thousands of people roaming around.
Right.
We're talking about at our Nova Center here in Chattagee, we have around 1,000 people. So that's still 1,000 people in one setting, but
you're still with a peer group.
And you're in your peer group, so you get to know your groups. A lot of them, you're doing the same coursework too. If you're preparing, say, if you want a course to finish your high school, whether it's a math, a French, or an English, sometimes you'll have a little peer group who are working on the same classes, and you get to know them. A lot of the students have said you make new friends right immediately because you're all working for the same goal in a timely manner. But then you're going to see a lot of people. You'll have I have no idea what they're doing, but they're in a completely different program. So there's a little bit of variety, and it's funny you brought it up. In the last 2 years, we've started a whole new program, and some people might have noticed, but there are 300 Chinese citizens who are at our Nova Center here in Chattagee, and what that means, they're from China.
Yeah.
You have noticed.
Yeah.
What has happened is that it's funny, if for a student from here who wants to take a program, they might spend a couple $100s, like I said, but for someone internationally who wants to come and take a trade because they're finding out that we offer this program, we're talking about $15,000, $17,000. They're paying big dollars to come and do a program which someone here can get at a very minimal cost, but they see the value of one, they get a professional trade, and sometimes some of them are looking to come to our country because we're having a lack of skilled laborers in certain areas. If there's not enough people from here who end up taking the program, the government's looking for ways to fill those gaps because their society will be missing those people in 5 to 10 years. So we have 300 students from China who have been here. They're living in the area, they're shopping in the area, they're actually thinking of maybe moving here or going back to their country later on. But it shows you that there's a demand for it, and for the people here, it's just to take advantage of it for them.
Right.
And it gives a little bit of an international flavor. We actually have, for the first time, Chinese New Year. We never knew anything about it, but we have a big event, and we know it's the year of the goat or the year of the dragon, and we get a little bit of the international flavor, and we learn from each other, different cultures and stuff like that. One of the first things we notice is our interior deck program has a few Chinese students who are in it now, and they made what we have for our elementary schools, we have a lot of cross kind of sectors. We do a little day where Santa Claus gets a room dressed up. It looks like the North Pole. So they make a boardroom look like the North Pole, and we'll video conference with our kindergarten school. So what that means is like a big TV with a camera. So the kids in kindergarten think they're speaking to Santa Claus, and the Chinese students made Santa's North Pole, but they had no idea what Christmas was. They literally, in their culture, were like, they learned about the culture. There is no Christmas. So they learned about the culture here, and they kind of more get involved in the Quebec English community here.
Right, and again, what a good example of hands-on education at the program that's being offered through New Frontiers.
And they got so much more out of it, because then they got to see little kids super happy, and they were part of it. They didn't just make something in class that stood on a shelf. They made something that impacted someone's life.
There's a greater resonance in the learning in that way.
For sure.
Okay. For people who are just tuning in, our guest today on the Partyline Talk Show is Chuck Halliday. He's the development officer over at the New Frontiers School Board. And, we're talking about the vocational programs, or sometimes known as trades, and some of the different options that are out there for people who might be interested in, something besides academics. So just briefly before we go to commercial break, because I think we got people interested.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about some deadlines.
Okay, no problem.
Right. So, because today's September 1st.
It is.
So is it too late to
It is not too late. It is not too late to sign up. I mean, there are some programs who are full. The way it works is that we have some deadlines. A lot of them are coming up in, the middle of September. So I would say most of the programs, the hard deadline is going to be by the end of next week or the week after. So if you're really looking to do something, this is the time to jump. If you wait a little bit too long, it might be full. So most programs, we have it till the month of September. Some are a little bit later, some are a little bit earlier. But if you look on our website also, I can give you that right on the front page. It shows the deadlines for each specific program, which is nfsb.me. So New Frontier School Board, nfsb.me.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back, and we'll talk about some of the programs that are offered through the New Frontier School Board. Stay tuned.
September is the deadline to make sure your business is seen by thousands of people who want to buy your product or service. Prime spots to advertise your company in the 2016-2017 Kahnawake telephone directory for 2 full years are still available. The telephone directory provides a valuable tool to every home, business, and organization in Kahnawake, but it's also a great way to sell your products or services and access our vibrant local economy. Also, if you recently changed your number or have a new number to add, please call the Eastern Door at 450-635-3050 to notify us. The Kahnawake telephone directory conveniently puts all of Kahnawak's important contacts at your fingertips.
Hi, Mike Sky here, inviting you to join me Friday evenings from 6 o'clock to 7:30 for the Sky Lounge, taking you up to Radio Bingo, the hottest game in town.
On K103.7 FM and K103Radio.com.
right, and we're back on the K103.7 FM Partyline Talk Show. I'm your guest host, Jessica Erstreich. I'm sitting in for Lori Jacobs. My guest in studio today is Mr. Chuck Halliday of the New Frontier School Board. And, you know, we've been talking about the programs and vocational options that are offered through New Frontiers. Let's, you know, get into the nitty-gritty of what exactly are the programs you guys offer there.
Okay, well, we have a multitude of programs. I'll run them down. I'll try not to just list them off, but kind of give you also where they're located. So we have I'll go alphabetically. We have accounting, you know.
I have a friend in accounting right now.
And how's it going?
She said, you know what, I hated math in high school, but she says she loves accounting. She's loving it.
It's not all about math. It's weird. I'm not an accounting expert, but it seems that the math that we know in high school doesn't necessarily just kind of go in the accounting world. It's a lot more hands-on in real life. Okay, I need this accounting for a specific purpose. Maybe not the algebra that, you know, or linear functions that we might have had in high school or something like that.
Calculating parabolas. But, you know, and that's what she said, is it's more like a riddle. When you're doing accounting, she said, because you have this information and it either fits or it doesn't, and then when it doesn't fit, it's almost like it's fun because you get to go through it again and you're a detective all of a sudden.
And that's what's amazing. Sometimes you'd be like, so accounting's fun, and for those who've never taken it, and for some of us, that is not something that's going to be fun in my mind. But for others, it's the perfect fit, and that's why different programs fit perfectly for different students. And just along the lines, even we'll go down all these programs, but if you're not sure on something and you're thinking, maybe it's for me, maybe it's not for me, we have a program that's called Student for a Day, and to me it's one of the best programs that we have, because you can literally call up one of our centers and say, I'd like to try a day, and say for the second one, assistance in healthcare facilities. I want to work in a hospital, but I'm not sure if I'm going to like that. You'll follow the class for the day. It doesn't cost you anything. You get to see what they're doing, and then you can talk to a counselor after to see if maybe this is something you'd like to do. So that's another program we have.
Good option too for exploring.
Most of our healthcare programs that we have 3: assistance in healthcare facilities. We also have home care assistance and health assistance in nursing. And we have one of them that's a double DEP, which is you put the two programs together and you do them over a longer period of time, but you walk away with 2 diplomas. So that's an option that might be good. But most of the people who take one of our healthcare programs, that's one of those places that the people are looking for people, especially people who can speak some English also and can speak French. A lot of our students are bilingual, but a lot of the healthcare facilities, especially in the English hospitals, are looking for someone who can speak the language also, and we're one of those centers that can help with that.
Okay, and it's a good thing to mention that it's not just about being Francophone, but also having Anglophone skills is important also. Because I think, especially in Kahnawake, sometimes people get nervous. They're like, well, my French isn't that great.
Well, I mean, there's no French tests necessarily in a lot of the different programs, too. Some of them, it would be helpful for certain jobs, for sure, but we're the English instruction. You can go to the French school board, and you can do it in French. And what's funny, we've had a lot more Francophones who've decided to come to our school, too, because our staff is bilingual, and they learn the English language at the same time. So they're doing learning a trade that a lot of times is done in English in certain places if they want to go out of Quebec, and they're moving forward. So other programs that we have, one of the popular ones, 2 of the most popular are auto mechanics and carpentry. There's always looking for people to get into that industry. And like I said, I strongly suggest anyone that's interested, but especially women. A lot of times we have these programs and they're like, oh, it's just the guys or the girls. We're always looking to promote women in different programs because they're looking for that also. We have construction business management. That's for someone who's a contractor who's done the carpentry and they want to have their own business to run their business. So they get that kind of angle. One of the popular ones always is hairdressing. And like you said, sometimes they go in waves. Sometimes we have so many people in hairdressings, we'll have a lot of groups, and sometimes we'll have a little bit less. So at this present moment, we haven't started. We're looking to start the course maybe in 2 weeks or so. So if anyone's interested in hairdressing, you see hair salons all over the place. So sometimes they're looking for someone to work there also. We have horticulture and garden center operations. That's what we were talking about. That's in Huntington. So if you don't know where Huntington is, it's around 50 minutes away. It's a little bit further, but it's very unique. It's the only program like that in Quebec offered in English. So it's something that, not a lot of people necessarily think this would be something that you can get a job out of, but moving forward in the way things are changing in the environment, we see this as one of those programs that will build over time. We have interior decorating and visual display. That's very popular. Landscaping operations. which is doing your own landscaper. A lot of them want to have their own business, and you don't just go and mow the lawn. There's a lot of nuances there to help you, and that's done in a very short amount of time, around 9 months or so.
I have to say, landscaping. When I had my first job in an office, they were landscaping the outside of the office, and I was just like, those guys are so lucky.
Well, they can work outside, and
they work outside, work on your tan.
They keep in shape, and they get paid. No one wants to do their lawns.
And you're being creative, though.
There's so much stuff. There's so much creativity involved. Once you got the base, you can make all kinds of fantastic things. We also have residential and commercial drafting, which is also very popular. And moving forward with 3D drafting and all kinds of stuff like that, we see the drafting kind of program morphing to something very important moving forward. So that's something some people should look at. We have secretarial studies, and we have a new one that we haven't even started. We're just looking for students now. It's called Secretarial Studies Medical. So it's in a medical field. It's kind of like there is a lack of people that could be the secretarial type in the medical field. So we just got approval to run this program. So once we have enough people who are interested, we'll start our first cohort in that industry too. Finally, we have the Starting a Business, which is a very short program. You could do it in 6 months, or we actually have a 3-month version where you do it once a week, but a little bit more work at home. And that's for those who have an idea, they want to start a business, even if they're not sure. It's something to just give you the foundation that if you ever go that route, hopefully your business doesn't falter after. And finally, we have the welding high pressure and the welding fitting. Those two are almost always booked. So if you're interested in something like that, I strongly recommend that you call as soon as possible, because those ones fill up very quickly.
Okay. And you also have some academic courses that you offer for people who are trying to complete some credits.
Kind of, if you're looking academically, we do have that. So if you're looking to get courses for CEGEP, sometimes you need a certain math or a French like that. We can offer those. If you're looking to finish your high school, we can help you with that. Or if you're looking to get the prerequisites that you might need, say a math for one of our vocational programs, we can help you out with those things too.
Great to know. I want to thank you for coming in today, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
Now, if anybody has any questions, where and who can they contact?
The best way to go is, the first thing, I'll direct them to our website, because all the information is there. So once again, it's nfsb.me, so newfrontierschoolboard.me, or you can also call our centers. The closest one here is the Nova Center, and the phone number here in Chattagee is 450-691-2540, and there's someone there who will definitely try to answer any question that you have.
All right. I hope we were helpful for a lot of our listeners out there today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with our second guest.